Hello everybody, this is the DBC Community Show. My name is Michael and I'll be your host. We'll be speaking with the various members of the Dragonboat community that make Canada such a rich hub for the sport we love. When we think of Dragonboat in Canada, most people will think of the three major hubs, Vancouver, Toronto, and Montreal. Notable next in lines were Ottawa, Edmonton, Calgary, Trois-Rivières, and even Quebec City. Common theme here is that all of these are urban communities, so I felt it was important that we show what Dragonboat looks like outside of our bubbles. Cathy Johnson has been introducing paddling to the community of Lambton Shores, fostering a small but committed group who've been a mainstay of junior racing in Ontario. If you have any interest in high school racing, you'll want to watch this one. This is my conversation with Cathy Johnson. Cathy Johnson, thank you for joining me on the DBC podcast.
Well, thanks for having me, Michael.
For those who don't know, I will have already done a bit of an introduction about you, but I think it's important to highlight that you've been involved in the sport for a very long time. Mm-hmm. You're involved with the junior community in particular. That's what you're best known for, I believe. As I will have said, you are unique compared to the people that I'm generally used to participating with, because you are from a smaller community. You're not from one of the major urban centers. So these are the subjects that I'm interested in tackling with you. But before we get there, let's start at the beginning. Before Dragonboat, how did you get started in the sport of paddling?
Oh, there was a little local canoe race, and my neighbor said, "I've got a canoe. Do you want to go and take your brother, go in the race?" And so we went in this local race, and from there I got hooked, and I became very involved with marathon canoe racing from the time I was 16 until I was about 24. Okay. I was very involved in it over the years.
And how will that lead you into the world of Dragonboat?
So the marathon canoe racing community is very tight-knit, and there are people who are marathon canoers who do Dragonboat right now. I happened to be at a local junior A hockey game, and one of the guys that I used to race in the circuit with was at the game, and he said, "Hey, I've got this new sport you might want to try." And I said, "Oh, what's that?" He goes, "Dragonboating." And I had no clue what it was. And he goes, "Well, it's 22 people, we paddle in a boat." And I said, "Oh, okay. How far do you go?" And he goes, 500 meters. And I went, okay. I'm used to, I did the Shawinigan race in Quebec, which is 200 kilometers. Yeah. Okay. So he said 500 meters. I went, what? Like, how hard could that possibly be? And then I can still remember my very first practice going, "Oh dear God." And I just fell in love with it. And I've been doing it ever since.
Yeah, that's a total flip of worlds, like going from
completely
multi-hour races to like 2 minutes of intense pain.
Exactly. Yeah.
How long ago was this chance meetup?
I've been paddling, I think, for 22 years as a dragon boater.
Okay.
The kids have been going. Last year would have been their 20th season. So I had been dragon boating down in the town of Chatham, Ontario, for a few years, and then the kids kind of saw it on my license plate on my car and said, "Can we try this?" I'm like, "Sure." And so that's how they got started on it. So it's been quite a while.
That is actually a good segue into the next subject that I had, because you're also a high school teacher, I believe. That's right?
I am a retired high school teacher now.
Right. And I was curious to know how you got the Dragonboat program started over there, but now you're alluding to the idea that actually they are the ones who asked you to start something. Is that correct?
That is correct. And that actually is what kind of made our program really unique, was that the kids came to me to do it. And at the time, I was probably coaching 3 or 4 teams a year. I'm in a very small high school. I didn't have any time. And I said to them, "Okay, if you really want to do this, fine, but you're in charge. So you do the announcements, you do the recruiting, you do everything, and I'll come and run your practices." Okay. So they said, sure. And so we had no dragon boats. The closest place with dragon boats was an hour and 30 minutes from our school. Oh. And so we started off paddling on benches in the gym. We put blue mats down on the floor. That was our water. They sat 2 benches side by side, and they used plastic ringette sticks as paddles. That's how we started.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Wow. This is a uniquely this group of kids, like, they really wanted to try this out.
Yes. So we had to be very creative. Our resistance training, we took the benches out into the beach volleyball pits and paddled through sand. Okay. They still give me the gears over that one. And that's like kids from 20 years ago. They're just like, I still remember you. Yeah. And then the really funny day was, I kind of remembered that our local provincial park had a Voyageur canoe. Okay. So I contacted them and I said, can we come up and borrow the Voyageur canoe, and I'll take my Dragonboat kids out in it? And he goes, sure. Get to the park, and 2 of the girls that had been involved in organizing goes, Miss J, this is the boat that we've always been wanting to paddle. And I'm like, I guess you wanted to be voyageurs, not dragon boaters. But anyway, they were just a great group of kids, and they had a lot of fun. Wow. I have so many stories about them. They were just great.
So when will you, because I assume that in this time you've eventually gotten a dragon boat in your own community?
Yeah, through Dragonboat Canada. It was after you guys had, I'm trying to remember what big competition it was, but we heard through the grapevine that there was going to be like, you could send in for a grant to get a boat. And the kids, by that point, we were using a tin tub, which came from my club in Chatham. You could sit 4 kids across in it. They weigh about 5,000 pounds, and you can't flip them. So the kids were really intense.
You can't flip them, so I mean that's already a plus. The weight is.
We've had quite the life. So anyway, we found this grant that Dragonboat Canada was putting out, and we put in an application. We had some pictures and stories and about what the kids had been doing, and it was really a kids oriented program. Anything that we did, the kids came up with the ideas. So I still use that with my program. I will give them ideas, they discuss, and then they come back to me. But anyway, the kids made out the grant program. I helped them with their grammar and their spelling and all that kind of stuff. We put in the application and we got a boat. That's where it got from. And then now we've fundraised. Now we've got 3. We have 2 of the 20-seaters, and we've got 1 10-seater.
Wow. Mm-hmm. This is like these are all stories that I had not been aware of. I didn't know that DBC had helped you guys in that manner.
Yes.
But yeah. This is a great story, and I really like the fact that this seems to be this is a bottoms up kind of thing. Like it's not you that told the kids like, hey, no, we can do this. So
I'm going to tell you something else too, Michael. I didn't even know that at that time. I didn't know that Dragonboat Canada existed.
Okay.
I had no clue that it was an organization. Paddlers that I had at the time came to me and said, did you know that there's this group and they're going to have a conference in Toronto? Can we go? Sure. They came up with it. Off we go. So he and one other girl from our club and myself went to, they had a Dragonboat Canada conference in Toronto. And that's kind of where we got our feet wet, learning more about what Dragonboat Canada could do, how they could help us, and how we could become more involved. So yeah, that was all kids too.
I remember that conference, and I realized like it's relatively not that long ago. So
no.
So I'm thoroughly impressed at the kind of momentum that you had in your community before even getting to the point where you started being aware of DBC and mm-hmm. able to offer you. I have to ask, if you had to take a guess to what would you attribute this fervor for the sport without you even putting that much direct effort into it, I guess.
I don't know. I just like
I
to
don't
have,
know. I don't know if effort is the right word,
and I just like to have fun.
Mhm.
I like to see kids active. Um, I'm I like to step outside of the box. Not every kid is cut out to be a hockey player, a ringette player, a basketball player, all the main sports, right?
Mhm.
You need to have something for kids to do other than just those sports. So Dragonboat was a good outlet for that. The kids were a good push, and the more they pushed, the more I thought, all right, well, let's see what we can do. And the other thing that we had going for us was our small community. One of my first paddlers, her dad was involved with the local paper,
Mhm.
and we had coverage like no other in that paper. We were rock stars. So, the more coverage you get, the more people see you, the more people want to know more about your program. We actually had kids choosing to come to our school to be on the Dragonboat team at one
Wow.
point. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah,
I,
it was
I
crazy.
was gonna ask like what are some like unique strengths of the small communities, and that is definitely top.
Oh,
That I would have guessed myself, and you're just confirming it. The
mm-hmm.
fact that you can get the information out to almost everybody relatively easily compared to a city of 6 million, right?
Yeah, we have never had to advertise our programs. People come to us. They find us, and because we only have two boats and a very limited number of coaches,
Mhm.
we have to be very careful. I don't want to advertise and get more people.
Okay.
Um, like because we're running two boats on Tuesday nights, two boats on Wednesday nights. We have one boat, sometimes one, and the small one on Monday nights. And you have to be careful
Right.
in a small community because everybody decides they all want to do it all at once. It's like when one comes, 20 come.
Yeah.
So
It's a nice problem to have, but then exactly
yeah,
you end up with a new bottleneck, which is like your own time as a coach. Either that, or you have to put effort into developing new coaches to be able to help you with all that.
yes.
So for now, like I'm hearing all these wonderful things. On the flip side, what have been some of the challenges that you feel are unique to running a program within a high school community?
Well, right now the problem is the the governing board, they're called OFIA. They look after our safety guidelines,
Mm-hmm.
and they have put a major roadblock up for high schools to have this sport anymore. I've been trying to work with them, trying to convince them that dragon boating is an incredibly safe sport, that it's a really good sport for developing kids. And it's like I'm talking to a wall. I cannot convince them that it is a safe activity. They have had problems in Ontario with canoe trips through high schools. Unfortunately, a young man drowned a few years ago, and their rules have tightened up so much that I don't think that even I, with an established program, if I was still there, could have run it through the school right now. That's just so, it's prohibitive. The kids all have to have special swimming tests done.
Wow.
We don't even have a pool within 40 minutes of the school that we could take the kids to do the test. So to get kids into boats through the schools now is next to impossible. They want safety boats out in rivers, and our river is narrow. The safety boat actually causes more problems with its wake
Yeah, I was
than
gonna say.
just having the dragon boat out. But I said, to her, I said, I really don't want a safety boat traveling beside me. And she goes, I said, and she goes, well, what kind of non-motorized boat do you want as a safety boat? And I went, what? Like, no, I don't need a safety boat. The kids know what to do. We're all trained on how to do our safety procedures,
Mhm.
but no, I just can't get them to understand the sport. So I'm
That
trying.
that is a unique challenge, because I do agree, like in my own experiences, giving like intro to dragon boat events, and um, it like until everybody is in the boat, they I think people like you only have two groups. You either have those who are completely reckless, and then you have to tell them like sit their bum down.
Yeah.
Or you have those who are very tentative and indeed like people who are not familiar with like even how to walk on the docks, and they're already feeling a little bit off, and then getting to a boat, and the boat can rock from side to side. But in actuality, dragon boats are very difficult to barrel roll, to flip.
Yeah. And it's such a rare occurrence to have one go over. Like, we actually take the kids out into the lake once a year. And we bring out all the parents with their boats, and we do a tip out exercise with them so that they understand what it feels like to have the boat go over. So we have about 5 or 6 boats plus a bunch of lifeguards, and there's 2 dragon boats out there. One flips, the other one doesn't. So we have and the kids love it because it's usually nice, calm, bright, sunny, hot day. Can we do that again? No, one day is enough.
We do it once, that's plenty enough.
Yeah, but it's funny because they are really scared. Like they're really scared to flip out of it, and I can understand that because I'm not a big person. I don't like water myself. On it, not in it is kind of my motto. But I totally believe that once you get them so that they understand what it feels like, they're able to respond to the situation. So that's again, like I explained this to the lady, and no.
But I congratulate you for putting the effort of doing a flip simulation. I don't think that many clubs across the country go through the effort of doing that. And as rare as it is, as you said, like I do think it is a important step to help to help sort of record it in the brain. Like, God forbid, should this happen, at least you have actually experienced it and you know how to act in it.
Exactly. And with kids, kids are so different than adults. Kids have had fewer life experiences. They have a tendency to be a bit more dramatic. So you want them to learn how to do a proper response to a safety situation. So that's one of the big things we do. Another thing I do with them is I make them each learn how to stern a little bit. They all have to try it. So we have a little tiny area that there's no boats in. It's about 10 feet wide. And actually it's big enough we can turn the boat around in one spot. But we take the kids, and it's like a little S turn. And we teach them how to steer the boat. And then they have a real appreciation for the people that are on the back of the boat sterning, because very few of them want to go back and do it again. But we make them all try it.
These, like, for example, over the last summer, and 22 Dragons put a lot of emphasis on getting everybody to do small boat training because we couldn't be in dragon boats, obviously. So we have plenty of people that were getting introduced to stand-up paddling for the first time.
Oh, yeah.
Or doing more outrigger paddling. And even some of them have started getting interested in marathon canoeing. And it was impressive to see how many people, like, yes and no. I guess as a coach, I've steered for long enough that it's second nature how to make a boat move where I want it to move. But then when we had all these paddlers get into a craft that they had to control on their own for the first time, and like these paddlers have been paddling for years, and then they're like, okay, so what side do I paddle to go this way or that way? And, but I do think that these are good skills to have. The higher paddling IQ you have, I can only see it being a positive, never a negative. So I find it wonderful that you do these kind of things.
No, we have a lot of fun.
Let's change it a little bit. I asked about the unique challenges of running a team within a high school environment. Now, what about running a team in a rural environment? You already mentioned one of them was distance to any kind of specialized facilities, which can be in certain situations very complicated. Anything else that comes to mind?
Getting people there. Some of my paddlers come as much as 45 minutes. I have juniors that come over an hour to paddle with us. But a lot of my adults are driving 45 minutes to get there. And, some nights they'll just go, you know what, I just don't want to come because I'm too tired. And it's a long drive there, long drive back. Other issues, we have limited facilities for launching. We have our one spot where we're at right now. And even without COVID last year, we would not have been able to put our boats at a dock all summer because the water levels are too high and the boats were coming up and over top onto the grass. And that's like our boats and all the boats in the marina. So they had to shut the marina down. Oh. We had nowhere else to put the boats. We were searching everywhere. We got the call at the beginning of May that we weren't going to be able to go in, but there's just nowhere to put boats and launch them. There's only, I think, 3 public launching areas in Lambton County. One of them was destroyed the winter before. They're not reopening it. The other one is in Grand Bend, which is very busy. And I would not want to have to put my dragon boats in and out of there to run practices. Really, there was nowhere to practice. So that's another concern we had, just a lack of facilities. Other than that, it's such a close-knit group. There's really not a whole lot of problems. Getting to races, we're a long ways away from races.
That is something that I had noted down, like access to competitions, even if you have a super strong group of paddlers, like if every competition takes like a 3+ hour drive to get to it,
you're struggling sometimes to get your 20, even though like my ladies team, for example, that program has 45 women in it, I think. Okay. And we struggle to get a full 20 in a boat. If we're going to say Brampton or Toronto to do something. And so we try to stick close to home and do races that are like closer, but there aren't that many. We do the best we can with what we got, I guess. So
one unique challenge that I remember from when I was coaching some of the paddlers from your team, farming schedules. Again, as an urban kid, this is something that I had never considered in my calendar planning.
Oh yeah. Everything is around, planting season and harvest season. And like, trust me, if there's crops going in or out, I don't have the men and I don't have the women and I don't have the kids because everybody's busy doing it. And you had my big farm group, like that was a big group of farm boys and it was hard. Like I couldn't get them until mid-June. And then by, in July, I lost them again for 2 or 3 weeks when they're taking off wheat. And then I would lose them again, middle of September, they were taking off beans. So I just, you had to work around it, just worked around it.
It's so interesting. This is genuine, like curiosity and again, like just makes me appreciate even more the longevity of your program, considering all these challenges. When I compare it to some of the challenges that I have over here in Montreal, they feel meaningless compared to what you're expressing over here.
We just accept it. It's just part of how the program runs, and we just go, oh yeah, here, this is how it is,
I love it. Just go with the flow, right?
We just go with the flow. We just, it's all about having fun. So like, we don't have like premier programs and things like that. So there's not that real push to be out 3 or 4 times a week and making sure everybody's there. So it's a little bit more laid back than running a program that has that kind of competition level in it. I do have some extremely competitive people, and they don't like to lose. And they work their little hearts out. They're there 2 times a week, usually, the ones that are really competitive. But that's about all I can get them because they have so many other commitments. And because those commitments take them a long ways away, like my sport is 45 minutes away. A lot of them have kids that are doing sports. The kids themselves do other sports. So, it's a big balancing game, and you just got to deal with what you're handed.
I think that like I'm talking about myself and I tend to experience Dragonboat from that competitive perspective. So and I completely agree that if I were, let's say, running your program and trying to inject that competitiveness, I would probably quickly hit a limit as to what everybody can absorb, even if they are like genuinely interested. Fact is, like, life here just runs differently, and there are commitments that are as big or bigger than Dragonboat, and that need to be taken care of. But by keeping the focus on fun, I think that at least that helps to make sure that with what little time that I may have, I'm going to make sure I spend it in Dragonboat because I enjoy it so much, because I enjoy being with everybody.
And it is an interesting thing. They don't lose their concentration on it. When they're there, they're working hard. I can always count on having a good practice. I don't recall ever having a night where I said, holy cow, these people didn't want to be here. Everybody comes, they want to be there. They want to have the social life. They want to have the fun. They also want to have the workout. They like working out. And Lord help me if I give them an easy workout, because I'll hear about it. Wow. Because they want to work. Yeah, it's kind of fun. Yeah.
No, exactly. It's good. Like the fact that they have attached, like, getting like the fulfillment really comes from the fun, and the fun comes from feeling like they've pushed themselves.
Exactly.
Which is great. You want people that are driven that way.
Exactly. And it really works for our club. It really does.
I'm really glad to hear that. Reading through my notes, my next question would be, since we're still on the subject of sports in small communities, if somebody were trying to build a Dragonboat team in another small community somewhere around Canada, what would be your go-to advice, your first 3 things you need to take care of?
I think first, have somebody with you who can help with the coaching. It's not a job you can do by yourself. If you're starting up a new program, you need 1 or 2 other people who are there to support you and who have a little bit of knowledge to help with training people, especially if you're setting up a program. Just finding that variety of drills and the things to engage them. Find social activities outside of dragon boating to do together. So our club, and again, this goes back to the kids. When the kids were receiving money from the community to do their sport, we always gave back to that group. So if the Kiwanis gave us money, the kids went out and helped with their kite day and their bike rodeo as a volunteer. So we kind of interconnected with the community that way. And we've continued to do that with our adults. So we are involved with Canada Day and a bunch of other activities, a beach volleyball tournament. And get your club doing things together, because then they have kind of a way to, what's the word I want? To bond, I guess, outside of the boat. Because in the boat, you've got 20 people all sitting in a row. People at the front don't know the people at the back. So by having something social for a small community, very important. And that's what brings in your other people. Hey, I had a great time. And just trying to get some community support for your program is huge. I know adults have a hard time fundraising. They can't do a whole lot, but you're going to need funds to get started. That's another big key point. With a small local group, you've got to have life jackets, you got to have paddles, you got to find a boat, right? So those 3 things, I think: having support, bonding, and getting some money.
Yeah. The bonding point I think is so important. Again, like I think it just becomes that much more important when the community is already so small. Like what few connections you can find, you want to make sure that they're strong. I have what's going to sound like a awful story, but I promise it's actually, it ends pretty well. I found out while dating my now fiance, we found out that we were on the same team at the same time and we didn't realize it.
Oh, wow.
Because I was more of a back of the boat kind of paddler, and she was more front middle.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure that if like gun to my head, if I were asked like, do you remember if she was on the team, I would probably figure it out.
No.
But like on the moment, like I remember, I don't remember who was telling the story, but somebody was telling a story of that year, and the other one went like, but I was there too. Like, and then
oh wow,
it's only at that moment that we really clicked. And I think that can sort of that can show the other side of the coin, where this was a team that was very competitive. All the members were super committed to being the best athletes possible and making the boat as fast as possible. But I think that we were first and foremost attached to becoming good athletes.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as you find 19 other people who are willing to do the same thing as me, I don't care who they are, just put them in the boat with me so that I can be the best person possible.
Right.
And it succeeded to enough that we won important competitions. But as I pull back a little bit, I realized that there was also a whole other dimension of the sport
Mm-hmm.
that was lacking from that group.
Mm-hmm.
And it just gives me more perspective on like what are the important things I need to focus on when I'm building my own teams.
Yeah, and I think that social bonding is really important. You know, whether it's a junior, whether it's a ladies team or a mixed team in a community, especially, they have to bond.
Mm-hmm.
And as a small community, most of them know each other anyway. But you want to get them so that they know who everybody is, and I think that makes them a better team because
Mm-hmm.
they understand what the other person is going through. That they know their background, so they're like more willing to learn a little bit more about the person and then bring that all together in the boat to become a strong boat.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of work at it a little bit differently, a little bit backwards.
It makes me think of how like if your enjoyment of the sport only came through the races, like the races are what, like you get 3 500s, that's still 6 to 7 minutes worth
Mm-hmm.
of paddling compared to the hours and hours of paddling you do in practice. It would be unfortunate that you can only get 6 minutes of joy per block of time, whereas if you flip it around and you derive most of your joy from the practice, well, then the majority of the time you're happy, and then if the races go well, then that's just a cherry on top.
It's just it's a bonus. Yep.
Exactly.
Yep. Yeah.
And then from the high school perspective, it sounds like again you sort of had it easy because the kids were running to you asking for Dragonboat. But would you have any advice for, let's say, a teacher, regardless of the community size, but a high school teacher that was trying to implement a Dragonboat program? Do you have any things that come to mind?
Well, you know what? The biggest thing with being a high school teacher right now, trying to get a program going, number one, there's no school sports because of COVID.
Right.
B, it's your safety guidelines. And I know that the rules and regulations are very different out in BC. I even tried to use those as an example to get the support ideas here to change.
Yeah.
But make sure you know your safety guidelines, whichever province you're in. It's extremely important for your program to know exactly what those rules and guidelines are. In Ontario, the last time I went on, I believe it was an 8-page document with all the things that we needed to cover and what we needed to do. That's really important. The other key to it is to don't go after your top athletes. Go after those kids who have that ability to maybe, they want to become better. They want to be able to express themselves in a different way. My first group, I had band members, drama members. I had some of the school star athletes. I had a little bit of everything, and you got to try to bring all those groups together. My other thing that really worked well for me was because we were a very small school. So at one point, we were a school of 400 and I had 45 paddlers. So I had a tenth of the population of the school paddling. You have to be able to have kids that can draw other kids in. And you need to find that core group to get started. You need to find 10. You can find 10, you can get 20.
Yeah.
And make sure one of them's a lifeguard. I always have a lifeguard.
That's not a bad idea
I always had a lifeguard on my boat. I made sure I had at least one of the kids at school always was a lifeguard. Yeah.
But I liked your point about like, if you can get 10, you can get 20, and you have to find the kids that can draw in the other kids.
Yeah.
I have definitely noticed that as I like through the years of coaching the U24 program in Montreal at 22 Dragons. And when I think of like when our team is doing well and it comes down a little bit and it comes back up, and I feel like it definitely lines up with the periods where we had like that small that one core.
Yeah,
I want to use the word click, but it does, it's not that insular, but like, yeah, that core of a handful of paddlers who just had a magical ability to talk to everybody else.
Yeah.
And were able to draw everybody in.
Yes, and it's very important for that core group to be a positive core group. I had a little bit of a situation once where I didn't have quite the right kids in there, and I ended up having, like, honest to God, it was like the front of the boat, the back of the boat, the middle of the boat were all different groups, and they didn't get along. Yeah. And it was like, oh my God, like, how am I going to get you people to all work together in the boat? So, we had to do a lot of work and team building and stuff just to get that group to mesh. But, after time they did. Like, I even had to implement a rule where everybody had to sit in the tent together. Nobody could sit outside of the tent, but he's got to be together, because I'm really big on the team bonding thing. But yeah, having that core group pulling in the rest and being a positive force is really important.
Couldn't have said it better, and totally matches what little experience I have compared to you, working with young adults and teenagers. So yes, I'm just happy to have some kind of confirmation that what I notice makes sense, because somebody else has.
It's all across the country. Everybody's got the same problems,
Since we're on the subject of team bonding, would you have like what would be your go-to tool to take a disparate group and bring them together?
Excuse me. One of the things we've started doing, we have a little spring get together with the juniors now. So we do like a full day. We start in the morning. We do publicize that one, so we get some new kids in the community maybe want to come out. It's a free day that the club pays for. So we do all sorts of team bonding and like what do they call them? Team building. Yeah, we do team building activities. So, you make the human knot and you do all these kind of crazy little games. Then they do a barbecue where the kids actually, all sit together in their different groups that we've put them into for the day. So like you and this, this group of 4 will be together, this group of 4, and they're not with their normal core group. So they're kind of split up. So we do that at the beginning of the year. Most places do it as kind of like a kickstart to their competitive program. Mm-hmm. We do it as a kickstart to our team building to bring everybody together. The other things we do with the kids in particular, like I said, we do have them all take different roles in the boat. So like we have the ones that are learning to stern. Some of them like to learn how to drum. We make them sit in different seats. So, when we're getting ready for a race, everybody's in their regular spot. But the next we do, we'll switch them around so they're in different seats with different people. Mm-hmm. The other thing we do with the kids, the first practice after a race, we go on an adventure. So
I'm curious to hear about this.
We take the boat and we'll just head out and we'll go down our little loop and because the water's been so high, we're actually able to get into the Pinery Provincial Park from behind.
Okay.
Yes, so that's a big challenge to get in through that. You know, we go out bird watching, or we see how many different animals we can see when we're out on our boat ride, and we take away the stress from the race and getting ready for the race, and we do something fun. That'll be a day, maybe we'll go out to the beach at the end of our river, and the kids can wade around in the water. They can't go swimming because I don't have safety boat out with me, but they can, you know, wade around in the water and throw water at each other and, you know, just have some fun. That's a big thing that we do in our club too. Just take away the pressure of getting ready for a race by stepping back a little bit. So
I love this, again, like this balancing act between like flipping from competitive mode to like ultimately this is why we hang out together, because we still enjoy each other's company.
And you do have, especially in the junior boat, there's a big range. Like you've got kids in there that want to be on the national team in the worst possible way. That's their goal, is to get to that. And you've got other kids that are out there that are like, man, I'm just out here to see those birds, you know, like, oh, look at that fish going by the boat. You know, they're just out for the fun of it. And that's a real balancing act some days too.
I was about to ask, like, have you ever had any like culture clashes, because you had like a section of the boat that felt like we need to take things more seriously, and another half is like, yeah, chill out.
Oh yeah, constantly.
And how do you deal with things like that?
Oh, you just have fun with it. You know, you try to get the ones that are, you know, not working as hard to bring it up a bit, and you try to get the ones that are a little too intense to just kind of calm down just a little bit. And you change up your practices so that you know, when you build up that intensity, so the really intense ones really get into it, and then hopefully they start to draw the other ones along with them as you're getting ready for a race. And then you have those adventure nights where the ones that just want to chill can just chill. You know, they can get rid of all of that pressure of competing, that they don't really want to be competing like that hard all the time. They get that chance to back off a little bit. And it's basically a big long endurance ride is what it is. They're out there for like 2 hours.
And hopefully like the same way that the intense days, you hope that your intense paddlers can help pull them up fire out of the chill ones. But on the same thing, I can totally imagine the same thing, that on the chill days when you need to let your body recover, and you hope that the chill ones can teach the competitive ones, like, you know,
how to calm down.
Like, there is actual value to like giving your body some rest, and might as well, if we're gonna rest, we might as well rest together doing something fun. So, and
have something fun. There's usually ice cream at the end of that day too. Perfect. So there's a really good ice cream shop right at the end of our road where we're paddling at.
Like, if ever some of my former U24 paddlers are listening to this video at some point, they'll definitely know what I mean when I say that ice cream has played a vital role in the development of my team. Cathy, to wrap this up, I want to take the time to publicly thank you for your support. When I took over the national team in 2015, I remember it was my first experience. I don't know if you noticed, this was my first experience with juniors, and it was immediately with the national team. And I remember being like, at one level, knowing that I had the ability to do this well, but obviously, like, this is new, and I want to be sure. There were just still a little bit of uncertainty, and especially also with taking teams that have at what looks at first like different techniques, and how am I going to make sure that they work together. And I remember that when I spoke with you, I felt nothing but support for what Chris, Wendy, and I were doing. And so and that really helped to sort of calm my nerves and make sure and remind me that, like, okay, like I am doing the right thing.
The kids loved it. They still talk about their time with you.
Really? Wow.
Oh yeah.
Like, for without a doubt, that is a wonderful thing to hear. And so thank you for your support. Thank you for letting me know that. And And if you do cross some of them, let them know that that I still think back with very fond memories to the 2015 process.
That was a great group of kids.
It was. It really was.
Mm-hmm.
Cathy, thank you for your time. It's been wonderful to talk with you.
Well, thanks for having me.